very much for your time. Really appreciate it. I hope you are a little bit awake after the lunch and before the Champions League tonight, depending of the people and who you want to support. And I will not enter to this kind of debate. During the next 20 minutes, I will try to go over my presentation with some questions I will try to answer to regarding the risk, the breaches. And I will also cover some of the topic during the time we have all together. If you have any question, I will try to keep some time at the end, but the time is really short. At least I will be in the booth with the FireEye logo just on the left after the doors. Just don't hesitate, and I will be happy to try to answer. Just to introduce myself, for the people who knows the animation movie, my name is David Grout. I will try to answer my question with something else that I am Grout, but at least it's a good way to remember my name. I'm working within FireEye as a technical director for Southern Europe, covering several countries in the Mediterranean Sea. I'm working in the ICT security market since roughly 15 years. And I'm also working on a lot of different, I would say, white paper, think tank regarding privacy, IoTs, SCADA system, banking and financial security, and all this kind of stuff. During the presentation here, I will cover this following agenda. As I said, 20 minutes is really fast. I will try to not speak too fast because sometimes I'm a little bit too enthusiastic, and I know it's always difficult for you and for me because I'm not English. This one is not difficult. I'm not English. You are not English too. I will try to make it, I would say, understandable for everybody, like everybody can understand what I'm trying to show and explain during the presentation. In terms of agenda, what I will cover during the next minutes is I will talk about the threat landscape evolution, and I will just not dig into the details, but just really highlight some key points who are really for me important because those points are helping me to understand where we need to go and what we are fighting against. The second part of the presentation will be just to show you two examples. Again, I will not dig into the details. If you want to dig into the details, just don't hesitate after the presentation. We have plenty of documentation and we have also plenty of good knowledge around what I will show you. And I will also explain at the end how we are applying all those kind of knowledge in the services we are providing through our business unit named as Mandiant. Let me start with the threat landscape, and don't spend too much time to try to read it. As I said, since it's not always easy in English, I try to be less sexy on the slides and put some content and to help you and me to figure out what we are talking about. The first one I want to highlight during the presentation is really to talk about the motivation behind the attacks. I will not talk about, I would say, the commodity malware we can see in the market, but when you are looking about the APTs, the nation-state groups, or the cyber criminals, we can see right now at least three main motivations behind all the attacks or all the attackers we are following. I will say this is not the top three, it's just the David top three. This is the three I decided to put on the slide. You can find some others, but at least I think those ones are really important to understand if you want to build up your security programs and if you want to secure your IT architecture. You can see here that we can see when we are talking about nation-state groups, we can see three main motivations, depending on the country. The first one is the influence, and I will not spending a lot of time here, but the most well-known group who is really working for influence is APT28, for the people who already knows it. It's a group who is a nation-state sponsor Russian group trying to influence election. And the idea behind is that we can see a symmetric, I will say, game between the political world or the normal world and the cyber world. As of today, you can see more and more activism, politics, who are using the cyber as a weapon to try to influence the population. And if you are working in any companies, might be a vertical with talking about financial, might be a vertical with talking about mining, motorways, water, you name it. At the end of the day, you can be part of a global influence program who is being managed by a nation states. Even if at the beginning you think that, okay, it's not really a matter for us, but at the end of the day, you are part of the game because you are living and working in the country where the attackers want to go, and in this case, in Turkey. The second one, in terms of motivation that we are seeing a lot during the investigation we manage over the years, is clearly around the cyber espionage. And cyber espionage for me is one of the most, and maybe the worst, important one, just for one thing. Cyber espionage is the way to tackle or to stall intellectual properties in your network and to try to copy it or to try to use it. At the end of the day, it is less exciting than ransomware or all this kind of stuff, because you will not close a shop, you will not close a rail station, you will not be in front of the newspaper, because it's not like real-time activities. But within 3, 5, or 6 years, all the money you spend on the R&D, on the research and development, will be lost. Because those guys are entering in your network, they are grabbing the information they need, and they will just copy-paste what you are doing. And this is for me, one of the most important focus in terms of motivation we need to care about. And the last one is the financial. I think this one is existing since centuries. People want to get money. And since right now cyber might be used, or IT or network might be used to get money, we can see, and we are seeing a lot of attacks where the motivation behind is the money. Might be extortion, might be ransomware, might be other kind of stuff with all the Swift attack, for example, where the attackers are just looking on how to win money with the less risk. And cyber world is a good answer. When we are talking about the impact and the business impact in general, you can see, again, three main stuff. The first one is the business disruption. I'm pretty sure that you all know the Aramco stuff with the Shamoon attack, who occurs in the petrol industry. And we are seeing more and more attackers who are using disruptive capabilities. Might be to get money, if I'm coming back to the motivation, or might be for cyber espionage to try to obfuscate themselves and manage some anti-forensics capabilities. The second main impact and associated risks is the information leakage. And this is one of the biggest one right now, when you are looking around all the stuff you heard this morning with all the big breaches and I would say a big amount of data we are spending over internet. And the third one is more difficult to calculate in general, is the brand and the financial impact for the companies who has been breached. And it's easy to calculate where you are in the quotation, in Wall Street or all this kind of stuff. It's more difficult when you are a public administration, for example, or when you are a small company. You don't know what will be the impact. But at the end of the day, your customers, your partners will maybe hesitate to work with you because you have been breached. The main vectors, and I will not spend a lot of time on the two first because I think everybody knows them, and just to highlight that they are still used and heavily used by the attackers. The ransomware, everybody knows, I will not spend time. The spear phishing, I think if you need to spend money somewhere, you need to protect yourself on the email vector, because the spear phishing is 92% of the attacks are starting with the spear phish approach. And the third one is the most interesting one for me, and maybe the one that you need to focus on for 2018, is the use of authorized tool and supply chain. And I think it's something maybe not totally new, but who has been heavily used, and specifically with the NotPetya and the Medoc software. But not only here, you can think about Sarang, NetSarang, CCleaner. We have seen also a group that we are tracking, and it's mentioned somewhere, I don't know where, in the middle. We've seen a group who used the McAfee EPO infrastructure to spread out the backdoor inside their victims' networks. And the idea is that you already deployed a lot of products that are fully authorized and sometimes with the admin rights in your network. And the attackers will use them to try to propagate themselves and to put the malware inside your network. Some real-life example, just to illustrate a little bit what I said until now. I decided to take only two, because otherwise I can spend 1 week speaking about all those kind of stuff, but at least I will try to use two to illustrate the main motivation and the vectors used by the attackers. The first one is a group that we name Fin10, who is a financial motivated groups, with the idea of this group was to target Canadian and American companies, mainly on two verticals, minings and casinos. And what they decided to do, it's really simple. They decided to use the cyber and the IT to extort money. And the idea is that they enter in the network, they show to the people that they are able to find the information they are looking for, might be intellectual properties, might be the list of the customers, for the casino might be the list of the gamblers, and all this kind of stuff. And they said to the people, if you want, or if you don't want us to publish this in Pastebin and other websites, you need to pay. And they also use ransomware as a tool to enforce the people to pay the money. And the same, they said, okay guys, we are already in your network, we already encrypt one laptop, we are able to do it with all your plans, you need to pay. You can see some key findings regarding the technical artifact they used. I will not spend a lot of time here because it's really more technical, but the idea is that they used the cyber to get money and just changing the field. The second example I will use is a good one for me because it's really interesting one. It's a APT10. APT10 is a Chinese group, or at least a nation-state Chinese group. And it's a lot of details here again. It's just to let you the ability to read and see what I'm talking about. The APT10 group is really focused on intellectual properties. They are looking only on copy-paste what we are doing in Europe and try to do it for less expensive. You are just spending 10, 15, 20 million, or maybe only 1 million, depending on your size, in research and development. They are coming in your IT network. They are just grabbing the information. They disappear. You are not aware. And you go in Shanghai, for example, during a big show, and just in front of you, you have the same stuff that you are doing in your labs with the same bugs. But it's quite free, where you need to ask for money because you spend a lot of money in the research. And this group is really fun, or I will use the term fun, but not for the people who are the victims. But they decided also to try to industrialize. We talked this morning about automation. They did it on the attacker side. And they decided to not attack directly their victims, but to use the MSSP providers to enter to the network of their victims. Because at the end of the day, they targeted only few big MSSP over the world, and they get the access to thousands of companies. They are still really, really active. We are working right now, or let's say we worked until now. The last numbers on my slide is 43 confirmed campaigns. The reality is that since I built the slide like 3 weeks ago for this one, right now we are at more than 50 active campaigns where they are inside IT networks trying to grab intellectual properties. And they are using also a very high level and high skilled capabilities. The two takeaways also on those two kind of attackers. They are using the spear phishing, or they are using the foothold approach with a malware. Let's say I will make it differently. They are using the malware only for the foothold, only to enter inside the network. Afterwards, they are only using authorized tool, means Windows component, PowerShell, WMI, you name it. At the end of the day, it's really important to try to understand this, because when you are looking all the vendors in the market, they are saying you that you need to spend money to be protected and to be protected against something. You are spending money to get an anti-something, might be anti-malware, anti-blah blah, you name it. At the end of the day, the reality is that 80% or 90% of the action from those kind of groups is driven without using any malware. I will repeat this one. Without using any malwares. If in your SOC, if in your IT security practices, you are only looking after the alerts based on malware and indicator of compromise, you failed. Because they are not using the malware to spread and to move inside your network. How are we building our expertise on all this kind of stuff? Just in a nutshell. I said at the beginning that I will talk about the management services, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to really understand who we are, how we are working, and all this kind of stuff. I will not spend 10 minutes to explain the company, but just in a nutshell, we built up the company on a triangle where we decided to be able to see the attackers before the attacks, during the attacks, and after the attacks. And the idea is that we build up some practices or business unit internally within FireEye, where you have I will go in from the beginning to the end. When you have the eyesight intelligence team, who is dedicated to track and understand the attackers and their techniques, tools, and procedures. The FireEye team, who is building tools to protect, detect, and manage investigation and forensics. And the Mandiant team, who is well known here in Turkey, who is managing the services, the professional services, to help our customers when they are breached. We are collecting all those kind of information coming from the attackers, the victims, and the real-time sensors to build up all the intel between the three business units. And this is clearly how we are working internally. We decided also to spread experts all over the world, because we know that we need to speak the language locally. And I will say, the challenge or the game that we are trying to play is really to be scalable, to automate, but also to be close to the reality and the market. Because if you want to understand what is appears in Iran, for example, you need to speak Farsi. If you want to understand what happened here in Turkey, you need to speak Turkish. And you cannot have only one or two consultants in the US who are just looking after everything. And this is how we are working as of today. Let's go to the end of my presentation with some slides and what we are doing to help you on all those kind of stuff. The first question we are trying to resolve or to answer for you and with you is, I am prepared. And the idea is that if you want to be ready to tackle all those kind of APTs, nation states, or financial attacks, you need to build a plan. And you need to build a plan to help you to transform your capabilities. It's not only buying product. If it was the case, we already resolved the issue since 10 years, because building a product is not an issue. The real issue is to find a way to articulate correctly the product, the people, and the processes, and to fit in with your business perspectives. Because at the end of the day, the reality is that the business will drive you in your journey. And what we are able to do on this one is that we build up three main, I will say, mission. The first one is the response readiness assessment, where we can help you to evaluate your capabilities to answer and to respond in case of, and where we will define different metrics. We will get the visibility in your network and to try to understand if tomorrow morning APT10 is trying to enter to your network, are you ready to see them? This is the question we want to try to answer. The second one is the SPA, is around all the security policy, is more a paperwork exercise, where we are working with all the policy people and the compliance people inside your organization to check if you are aligned with the policy outside of your network and if you are aligned with the policy you build up internally. And the third one is maybe the most exciting when you are more technical, is the Cyber Defense Center development, where we can work with you to bring your SOC to a new position where your SOC will be able to be more proactive with hunting capabilities and not only ingest alerts on the day-to-day basis. The second question we need, and sometimes it's the first one, before starting or trying to build up capabilities, you need to understand if you are already breached. Because as I said, I know I didn't say it, but just our CEO is using a very cool sentence. 100% of our customers, or let's say 100% of the customers where we are going for a breach, they have all deployed already IPS, next-gen firewall, antivirus, and all those kind of stuff, and they are breached. And at the end of the day, the real question you need to ask yourself is, I am breached already or not? And for this, we developed a capability, a scalable and automation approach, where we are able to scan your network, see if you have already some artifact already known for all the big groups over the world, and we can help you to understand if they are already inside your network and if you need to clean up before building the new strategy and the new program. And we also decided to do it specifically for the financial market around the SWIFT stuff, where we investigated a lot of activities for the people or for the attackers who attack the SWIFT networks. And we build up a compromise assessment dedicated to the SWIFT environment, where we are sweeping and hunting IOCs linked to the SWIFT activities. One of the services we are working on with our customer, who is really interesting and really important, is to try to change the paradigm again around the security. And to try to change it is really, I will say, a cool approach. If you want to do something cool, it's cool to do. I talk about the fact that we are just waiting for alerts coming from the CM or coming from other technologies. Here, the idea is to try to change totally the vision with the opposite way. We will start with knowing about the bad guys to build up the policies and the strategy and the rules we want to apply to track them. And it changed totally the approach, is that you are not waiting for something, you are looking for something. You are becoming the hunter. You know that this specific group, I will give you an example, it was on one of my slides. I said, I think it's for Finten, they use the schedule task from Windows for the persistency. You know how they are working, you know that they are looking or using the schedule task. When you are running an intelligence program, is the fact that you will look every week on all the scheduled tasks in your network, you will rank them, you will stack them, and you will look for all the stuff who is strange. This is another approach to the security. You know what you are looking after because you build up your rules based on the intelligence you collect from or against the attackers you are looking for. And we can help you also to build all those kind of capabilities internally inside your SOC or your CERT. And the last one is my final slide. It's the and if. At the end of the day, 100% security do not exist. If someone is saying you that he will block 100% of the stuff, I would say no. The only way, for example, the example I'm taking always is like, the only way to stop 100% of the email attacks is just to stop the email server. Otherwise, all the other technologies, attackers will find a way to enter. However, you need to be ready to react. And ready to react means two stuff. The first one is that you need to have the plan and the programs. We talked about it at the beginning. And you need also to already have all the contractual links with the firms you will use during the breach. If you want to work with us or with someone else, at the end of the day, you can work by anticipation and preparing everything to know how you will work with us, what will be the price, the timing, the kind of people, the profile, how you will exchange the information, which kind of expert do you need, some expert coming from the countries, coming from the external world. It's really something that you need to prepare before and not after the bridge. I just finished on this slide. If you want more information, like I said at the beginning, we will be there just on the left after the door. You can also go to the FireEye blogs, where you will find a lot of information regarding the groups I talk about. You will find also all the details regarding the services we can provide to you. I want again to thank you, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much for your time.